It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Stats don't mean I don't care about your individual stats. I don't care how many points you score. I don't care what you post on Instagram. It doesn't matter. It's a team sport. You play to win. We have to nip this in the bud now because I've said this before and I'll say it again. There will not be free minutes in this program. And so you're either going to start learning and you're going to start playing the right way and you're going to start participating with your teammates or you're not going to play.
Will Hardy getting fired up after the Jazz lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's not so much the losing because, well, they've lost a lot. But if you lose the wrong way, you can light a fire under Will Hardy in the postgame.
Well, that's got to be directed at George. Who else could it possibly be directed at?
I think
nip it in the bud. You're not going to do it with Chris Dunn. He's pushing 30 years old. You're going to do it with John Collins.
They're too old. No, you're right. I think it's directed at several people, but I think it's primarily Keontae George.
I think it can only be George. Sensible? After 2 weeks of playing?
Didn't he say something about there's like 30 passes that could have been made, or 30 open guys that got passed up? I can't remember how he phrased it.
It was a two-part statement.
Yeah.
That was the
And so I think there were multiple guys who did it.
Toxic.
But then there was the follow-up question later in the interview about Keontae, and it was for not executing, or he phrased it some way, but basically I think they came out of a timeout with a play, and Keontae ran the play for himself.
Right, that's
and
what
there's
it
other
was.
stuff. So that specific play is at the root of it. But he was irritated because there was a lot of not passing the ball to the open man.
I think it was directed at one guy.
There were. You're right
got
about
to
the
trade
nip it.
him, man. He's a cancer.
You're right about nip it in the bud. You don't use the phrase.
Get rid of him now.
You don't use the phrase "nip it in the bud" for some dude who's 30 who may not be on the roster next year.
Right.
But nonetheless, that guy doing it, that veteran doing it, can encourage the younger guy or guys to think it's okay. But the guy who's a point guard and has to be making good decisions and good choices and blah, blah, blah is Keontae George.
Wonder what they can get for him.
I mean, I think he's thought it about THT at other times, and he just benched THT. He didn't have a blow-up. He just didn't play him anymore.
Right.
And statistics don't mean bleep. I mean, that's the bigger theory. You know, THT had 37 and 41-point games at the end of last year, but if you're not running the stuff the way coach wants it run, he doesn't play you. So, get in line, Keontae. And everybody else, quit being a bad example and making bad impressions on Keontae. And it's the Jazz and the Wolves again tonight. It's deja vu all over again.
Well, great. I hope we don't have to have all hugs and kisses again. I am getting so sick
of that. That should be reserved for the end of playoff series. Old guy shakes fist
Get
at
your
clouds.
butt kicked, go hug and kiss.
Hey, man,
Isn't
good
that
to see
peachy?
you. Good to see you. Good to see you. See you again Monday. Hey, want to go to brunch tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, they had all day yesterday.
Can we go to your house, Rudy, and hang out?
I mean, yeah, he's got a house here.
Did he ever sell that thing?
No.
It was on the market for a long time.
He posted a video of him working out at his house.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's kept it. He likes it here.
You got to have both clubs over.
This is not exactly new news that players who get traded from here come back. It has a lot of things going for it. I'm just getting tired of all the lovey-dovey preceded by another L.
Tip-off tonight, 7 o'clock. Pregame with Jake Scott and Tim Lacombe at 6 right here on The Zone.
Hashtag NBA.
Taking it left side, looking for Vassell, finds him in the lane, lobs to the rim, slam, dunk, Victor Wembanyama.
Dylan brings it across to DeAndre, now left corner, DeJounte for another three, it's good again. DeJounte Murray just hit another three-pointer, and the Hawks lead by 25.
Jumping up and down, waving his arms, Cleveland looking, trying to get it to Luka, instead Kyrie, turning, do he have time, he got it away in time, he has, and the Mavericks have won, and a dog pile in half court, as Kyrie Irving gives the Mavericks a monstrous win against the Denver Nuggets, winning at 107-105.
Kyrie Irving with an outrageous left-handed half hook, half throw, a little bit of shot put mixed in there, something. Just get the ball towards the rim, and I hope it goes in.
PK knows what it is.
And it did.
What?
You made that type of shot. Come on.
Yeah.
His was more pure. It was with his right hand. He's right-handed. This was with Kyrie's offhand.
These are pros. What offhand? You shouldn't have an offhand at that level.
You still have an offhand.
You shouldn't.
And you from 17 feet, you have an offhand.
Sure, but you shouldn't. You have an other.
Not around the rim, not inside of 5 feet.
Offhand, it's the other hand.
Okay, it's the other hand. It was the offhand, and you've
this
developed.
This is your job.
Because you closed the ambidextrous, but that was outrageous, PK.
It's not like Kingsley Suamatatea, who can sign his name with the same amount of purity and penmanship with both hands. How about that, Yak? See, I pick up on the stuff.
Look at you go.
You didn't even know that.
I did not. And furthermore, I don't care.
And I do. Well, that just shows ambidexterity.
Ambidexterity is a good thing to have, especially when the game is on the line and you can't get to the free throw line.
Right. And for Kingsley, as he goes to the NFL, suppose they present a contract, but his right hand's all banged up. No problem. Boom, sign. He still gets paid.
Key development right there. Mavericks beat the Denver Nuggets, who haven't been losing much since the All-Star break. But if that's what it takes to beat Denver, how do you do that 4 times? So good luck with that. But they got him. And Denver is now 11-2 since the All-Star break. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Phoenix Suns. No Giannis Antetokounmpo. He sat that one out, and Lillard went for 31, and Bobby Portis, 31 points, 5 of 5 from the three-point line. Now we have to check the next game and see if the law of numbers brings Bobby Portis back to earth.
Well, I think the law of numbers, though, more importantly, Portis had a good game, good for him. But the statistics are showing that when Antetokounmpo's out, Lillard goes off. His stat line, his slash line, is very impressive when Yanni is not there.
31 points, 16 assists. Impressive for Lillard in the win over the Phoenix Suns, who did have all 3 of their guys. Are you still tracking their record with all 3 of the guys? Was a
I am not.
Rare loss for them.
But they didn't have Isaiah Thomas, so we'll get him back. He's up from the G League. He's gone from the Stars. I miss him. I'm sure when he comes back for Phoenix and Phoenix kicks the crap out of the Jazz, they'll
he'll be hugging everybody.
Yeah,
hug everybody. Hawks beat the Clippers 110-93. The Clippers going to give us something in the playoffs, or just a big tease and then they get knocked out? What's their deal? They're going to be healthy, I guess that's the first question.
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
Jeez, that was emphatic.
It was. They had Kawhi Leonard, they had Paul George, they had Harden, and they got worked at home by Atlanta, 110-93. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
They find Wolf with 5 seconds remaining. He stops, finds Imbang, crosses over into Noling. Noling up and in, and the Bulldogs win! The Bulldogs win! Yale goes to the March Madness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Oh my God!
Matt Noling! What a shot!
Players, they're mobbing Noling! They will go to the monitor to review, but it looks like the Yale Bulldogs are going to March Madness.
Wow, Matt Noling, the senior forward.
You can't draw up more of a storybook ending for this Yale season.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's not the ending if they're going to play in the NCAA tournament, but was that the student broadcast? What'd you get there, Yak?
It was the junior high.
It had to have been the student broadcast. This was on our FTP earlier.
Yale at the buzzer to win the Ivy League title over Brown. They're into the NCAA tournament. BYU gets a 6 seed, not the 5 they were projected for. Utah State gets an 8 seed. Cougars and Duquesne Thursday in Omaha, 10:40 a.m. The Aggies and the TCU Horned Frogs Friday night in Indianapolis. Prime time, 8 o'clock.
Where else can you get a game in which each team has a player named Fusini?
Nowhere else. This is it.
So you didn't know that.
One of a kind. You brought that up yesterday.
Yeah. Fusini over here, Fusini over there. Now, our Fusini is about 40 pounds heavier than their Fusini.
Here a Fus, there a Fus, everywhere a Fus.
They're both very good rebounders, though.
Yeah,
did you see
the Atlantic 10 level.
Did you mention the other connection this game has?
Did you hear me? Did I mention it?
I heard you say the Fusenis. Did you mention Dusan?
Well, you should be listening to every word I say. That's your job.
You know he listens to other shows in there.
Yeesh. No, what do you got?
Dusan Mahorcic, who spent a year at Utah, was the guy when he was at Utah that said he was recruited by BYU but wasn't willing to live the honor code. He's their starting big man for the Duquesne Dukes on his 4th program.
I got no problem with that. Better just not go there if you don't want to live the code than
go there and break the code and get busted and then not be playing basketball.
Right.
So that's another connection in this game.
The Utes are a 2-seed in the NIT. They're playing UC Irvine tomorrow night. The Utah women's team got sent to Spokane. They're a 5-seed, playing 12-seeded South Dakota State and presumably getting the host Gonzaga Bulldogs in the second round if they win.
Who did not win their tournament. Portland won it, didn't it?
Portland did, yes. Got like a 14 seed or something like that. The BYU women's program is part of the first ever WBIT, and they're going to play 4th-seeded Santa Clara on Thursday.
WBIT.
The women's version of the NIT?
No, I thought the WNIT's been around.
There has been one around. I don't know if it's still around.
Yeah, I think they've rebranded it here. It's called the Women's Basketball Invitational Tournament, and BYU's part of it this year.
Way to go.
Plenty of hoops. We've got questions up. Question of the day. We will get to that coming up with BYU and Utah State and your expectations for them in the NCAA tournament. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
The reason why I wanted to come here because I wanted to be able to win championships with Coach Tomlin and these guys in the locker room. And, we got some amazing players, guys like Cam Hayward, guys like Minka, George Pickens, and just so many other great players along the way. Got to see some guys like Freiermuth and Samalu in there. And, just it's a great place to be. Grateful for the opportunity to be able to get after it, do what we came here to do, and that's to win football games.
Russell Wilson, now a Pittsburgh Steeler. They were a playoff team last year without him, just barely, and they weren't in very long, but they finished 9-8. He should be an upgraded quarterback. Kenny Pickett got traded to the Eagles, so
why?
Now Justin Fields comes in from the Bears.
Have you looked at
Wilson and
you looked at Pickett's stats?
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
Why would it be an upgrade?
Because they didn't even trust Pickett to start all year.
He was like 5-1 when he started.
Mm-hmm. Surrounded by a great defense. Did he make the plays that won the game?
Either it's going to be the quarterback is either going to get his record or it's not. You can't just move the goalposts here each time you don't like a player. We go by his record, but somehow Pickett's record doesn't count. But Wilson's record, gosh, he was getting chewed out by his head coach on his sidelines.
Yep.
But we didn't even bring that up. He was getting benched for people who weren't even half as good as Mason, the big-time player out of Oklahoma State, Rudolph.
We did bring that up.
Might have brought it up when I overslept last week. You just didn't bring it up.
Trubisky had a lot of games where he couldn't throw for 200 yards. So if you're looking for stats, their lack of a passing game. Did they win some games? Defensive scores, field position, low-scoring games? Yes.
Fine. Then don't ever bring up the quarterback's record then. That's all I'm asking. Be consistent.
Former Utah star Tyler Huntley is set to join the Cleveland Browns. He gets a one-year veteran's minimum salary. They've got Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So Huntley versus Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the last spot on the roster, or you think something unexpected happens with Watson or Winston?
Wow, you just put him down on third string? And he was second string with Baltimore all these years, and you just anointed him third string?
I just gave you two options.
No, you didn't have him competing with the other two.
Yeah, you said
something
with
happens
DTR.
to them.
So is it Huntley versus Robinson for the last spot, or does something happen at one of the other two? You got four guys for three spots. I just listed all four.
Why can't he start?
Why can't he beat out Jameis Winston?
Because he's 3-7 as a starter.
No, he's not.
Counting the playoff game with Cincinnati, yeah. He's 3-7 and 10 starts in Baltimore.
But doesn't matter.
Okay.
Records matter or they don't. We got to figure this out with quarterbacks right now.
It depends on whether the team thinks they matter. That's what matters.
Depends on whether you think it matters.
I think it mattered in Baltimore. I think it mattered to Baltimore, or Baltimore would have signed him again.
Well, we're not talking about Baltimore. We're talking about here.
I just talked about Baltimore.
I'm not talking about Baltimore. You asked me about Cleveland. You didn't ask me about Baltimore. I can only answer the questions you asked me.
They brought in Winston, who has a lot more experience. I think he's expected to be the backup to Watson. I don't think they can jettison Watson and all that guaranteed money, but I wouldn't rule it out because I don't think Wilson got jettisoned in Denver just because of production.
Jettisoned?
Jettisoned.
Wow.
Cut loose. Released. Waived. Cut. I think a lot of it was the money. Maybe that'll end up being the case with Watson, too, because you get a lot of guaranteed money. It's probably too early and too much money, but wouldn't rule it out. Colorado coach Deion Sanders says he has concerns about Caleb Williams playing in cold weather if he's taken number 1 overall by the Chicago Bears. A kid that's coming from California for the last couple of years and went to Oklahoma, that's not terribly cold. Chicago's cold, man. You got to think about that stuff when you're taking a young man. Like, see, when you take a guy from Ohio State and you bring him to Chicago, okay, I can understand that. But California to Chicago? Come on, you got to factor that stuff in. That matters.
You're 4-8. Who cares what you think about Caleb Williams?
He's Coach Prime. He went on to say he doesn't want his son, Shadur, to play in a cold weather city when he enters the NFL draft.
That's all he cares about. I think he cares about that more than winning games at Colorado.
I don't want my kid going nowhere cold next year. He grew up in Texas. He played in Jackson and Colorado. Season's over before it gets cold in Colorado. I'm just thinking way ahead. I don't want that for him.
Season was over in October.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Joey Votto homered first pitch he saw. 17 seasons playing for the Reds. Now he's in Toronto. Ageless wonder or one of these guys that we're going to forget where he played the last year or two of his career?
I thought he was the second pitch. I thought it was the first swing.
I read it was the first pitch.
Okay, maybe it was. Well, he's 40 years old, and he really sucked last year. But he's from Toronto, the area anyway, I believe. And I know he's from Canada. So it's worth a shot. I mean, he's not a big-time player anymore.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Royals open the season getting shut out. Chicago scores twice in the second half and gets the win. Royals are back in action Friday night against the North Carolina Courage. Need to be a little better in front of goal. Created probably 3 good chances in the second half, but they were all saved.
Are we going to do women's soccer this year?
I don't know. Do you want to?
No.
That was a rhetorical question, PK. We already figured that out.
You?
It depends on if people go to games.
Do you? Oh, yeah.
It does.
I couldn't care. It sold out every freaking game.
Okay.
It comes right back. 20,000 people were there on Saturday, so we're good.
DJ and PK.
Golf.
Scotty Scheffler becomes the first golfer to go back-to-back at the Players'
Gives a crap.
Championship.
They didn't have 20,000 at the tournament.
They had way more than 20,000 at the tournament. Beat Wyndham Clark by one stroke.
If it's popular, I support it.
No, if it's popular, I'll talk about it. That's 2 different things.
No. Beep, beep, beep.
You're backtracking left and right this morning.
It's not even a backtrack. I'll let you know when I backtrack.
All things to all people, as long as they're popular.
Except for country music. Wyndham Clark, 1 stroke back. Heartbreak at 18. A little too much pace on that putt. Started in the left side of the hole, spun around, did a U-turn, stayed out, and came right back at him. Halfway in and didn't stay in. No playoff for him.
I like what Scheffler said about, he's becoming very popular and very good and probably the most dominant player, and she's going to get a big head. And he said, I'm married to a great woman. If I come home flaunting my trophy, she'll, I think is it a literal quote? If not, it's close to it. She'll just smack me upside of the head. I'll get humbled in a second. So that's a good attitude to have. Don't think you're anything special. Keep grinding. Keep doing what you're doing. And can you become the dominant player of your era? I wouldn't rule it out.
Can he stay healthy? He was talking earlier in the tournament about how much pain he was having and turning a takeaway, and you could see the what do they call that tape that they use? You could see that
KT tape.
Yeah, the KT tape was peeking above his shirt there, and he's talking about altering his swing and throwing his hands at it, and all stuff I guess pros can do that and just change his swing on the fly to minimize the pain or eliminate it? And will he remain the face of the tour, or will he be the next guy Liv picks off if they don't cut a deal? Which maybe they will at some point, but that just seems to drag on interminably. That is what is trending. There are your headlines. Coming up, Patrick Stevens, Washington Post college sports contributor and bracketologist. He will join us next. Did BYU and Utah State get a raw deal? If so, how bad? And if so, does he think they can win the game anyway? So who'll remember the seed as long as they win the game? We'll get to him coming up next. And Steve Cleveland, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach, is here at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, The Zone.